Hello and welcome to week 13. Is it 13? 13. It's
Yes.
week 13. We missed last week.
13.
We're eating turkey stuffing. A week off. So we're back. Mr. Bland's back from Brazil.
Welcome
Good
back,
evening,
Blandy.
gentlemen.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
have you back on English waters and soil.
Try to smuggle in some nice weather, but they took it off me at customs.
I thought you were going to say you tried to smuggle something else in there. I was getting excited.
He smuggled 1,000 fags in.
Cuban cigars.
Not quite.
Are we all drinking soft drinks this Thursday?
Absolutely not.
Oh, yes. I just thought with the... happy birthday to Steewick, by the way. I just thought with having the 2 parties for Steewick this weekend, I thought we might be having a quiet one.
No, I've just about recovered from the last party for Steve Wake. The trip to Munich took a heavy dose on the liver. So I'm just about back around, and we'll go again this weekend, for 2 to 3 days in a row till we drop.
He's like fucking Bilbo Baggins with his big marquee with the RA. Anyway, I've got the whiskey tonight. Straight on the whiskey.
That little glass you're drinking out, is this some sort of special whiskey glass, is it?
Yeah, so it gets the whiskey
Aroma.
fumes. Yeah. Have a good sniff. I just thought with because we're going to be drinking so much lager, I thought, well, I'll just go straight on the whiskey.
Yeah. Well, why not? Can't possibly
No,
what could go wrong with that tactic, eh?
Possibly go wrong, yeah. So happy birthday, Steve. I think it's also it's been Ryan's birthday as well. Ryan's obviously in our fantasy front office league, so happy birthday, Ryan Wake, as well.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. First things first, we're going to go for playoff stashes. Playoff stashes.
Playoff stashes.
Stash. You can't beat a good stash.
Because the trade
have we got
deadline's
any?
passed, so we can't be doing buys and sells now. The trade deadline's passed, so
No, there wasn't exactly a flurry of activity on our trade deadline either, was there? We haven't had a trade all season, I don't think, have we, on the in our league? I think maybe people just get a bit warmed up for trading for next year.
I think there's a lot of trust issues, I think.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to trade with you guys, do they?
we did manage to pull off a trade.
Oh, did you?
We traded. Yeah, we got CD Lamb for Michael Pittman.
Oh.
I think we chucked someone else in there to sweeten the deal.
No, and no wonder nobody wants to trade, eh? The highway robbers are in town with an offer for you.
Yeah.
Right, so what's our advice for someone who's in the hunt for a playoff spot or might have already made the playoffs? What players are you looking at to stash then, Mr. Bland?
Right, so the mainly looking at running backs and running backs that are pretty much going to be one injury away from a full-time role. There's no point kind of stashing a mediocre wide receiver at this point.
No.
So I've got a few on my list. The top one, as we saw last week when Mixon was out, is Samaje Perine. He's got a proven record of when he steps in to the role when Mixon's out, he produces on that. He produces on that role. So he's a good one. And you can see there's only 64% rostered here.
Is he generally in normal circumstances used as a bit of the pass catching back? Is he Blandy on third downs? Is that's how he's kept his roster spot and kept himself involved anyway? And then if Mixon's to go down, which he has done, and any running back can go down any time, he sort of steps into that workhorse role.
Yeah, that's it. You're just stashing him just for that 1 or 2 week upside that you're going to get out of him at this point of the season.
But again, if you're in a playoff game or you're the last week before the playoffs need a win and it comes off, it could make or break your game in the season, can't it?
Exactly. Last year, I think it was week 16 when Austin Eckler was out, and it was Justin Jackson who went into that Austin Eckler role, and I think he put him about 30 points that particular week. It was pretty much the only thing he'd done all year, but it was just a case of, he was one injury away in a good enough offense that if he did get the opportunity, that there was chances there for a big upside, and that's how it proved. So next one on my list would be Dontrell Hilliard of the Titans. Last year we saw him fill in when Derrick Henry was out, and between him and the Foreman, they did a pretty good job between the two of them. But this year, if Henry was to go down this year, it's going to be Dontrell Hilliard who would take that full-time role pretty much.
When's this Derrick Henry usual autumn-winter high-scoring week's going to start kicking off, Mr. Bland? Because it hasn't happened so far, has it?
It has not. No, it's not looking too clever, is it, for Derrick? He's skating by a little bit at the minute on touchdowns, but in previous years gone by, so November in the month of November, 2018, 4.73 yards a carry. Because people say, as the weather gets colder, he starts to get rolling. 2019, 7.45 yards a carry.
Ooh,
it was only three games, but two of those games he went for over, I think it was 140 yards in 2 games, and in the 3 games that he played, he scored 5 touchdowns in that spell. 2020 was 5.25 yards a carry, and then last year, obviously, he got the foot injury, which is never good for a running back, especially not an older running back. And then this year, in the month of November, he's at 3.61 yards a carry. So I don't know whether it was just November. November was a warm month.
Not cold enough for him.
No, not cold enough for him. No. It was historically warm month November, so maybe he needs December to roll around. But the foot injury, he keeps popping up on the injury report these last few weeks with a foot injury. Pretty much not been practicing at all, apart from a limited participation on a Friday. And then, like I say, his rushing production has not been great.
So he's really managing it. We know he's managing it, and again, I don't think he's turned into a bad player. I mean, there was a run he peeled off last week. Was it about a 60 or 70 yard when he got down to the sort of 1 or 2 yard line? He looks still like he's got that. If he can get the gap and he's through the line, he's got that burst still.
Well,
he's probably not ironic many gaps. Is that fair or?
Well, no, that particular play last week, that was a screen pass. It wasn't a rush.
Right.
It wasn't a rush. That was a screen. They got the ball to him in space, and he broke off the big run.
He looked good though. He looked like that striding Henry that we see, year in year out. I don't think he's a worse player. I think there's lots of dynamics to it, isn't there? And coincidence and matchups and game scripts and all these things. But I think he's not done what people will have drafted him for if they've drafted him, pick 5, 6 in that sort of region. He's had some good weeks. I think it was a 35 and a 25-point week there, but he was on that pace for that 2,000-yard season, wasn't he, back to back in last year and the year previous until he got his foot injury. He's not quite at that level.
No, and he's still the RB3 overall in scoring, but that's basically because the running back scoring's gone down the toilet this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some stats as well. The Titans are passing a lot more in this last sort of phase since Tannehill's come back from his injury. I think we always see Titans as a heavy run team, and like I say, feed Henry at 25 touches a game. But I think the numbers say they've been passing it a bit more in these last sort of 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, the pass rate over expectation is still pretty low. But the emergence of Traylon Burks is certainly helping in that aspect. Because to start the year, obviously Burks was a rookie, quite unfurnished. And Robert Woods and Nick Westbrook's at Keeney just replacement level receivers at this stages of their careers. So you can understand why they went more run heavy to start the year, but they're still, even with the emergence of Burks, still not They're still not pass heavy.
No.
They still are run heavy, just not as run heavy as they were.
And Tannehill's not necessarily dynamic. He's capable, and but he's not going to start slinging it all over the place.
You can't do that with him. He's got too many flaws, so he needs to be protected within the system.
Yeah,
but pick his spots.
But Hilliard's had good. So back to the original point of stacking Hilliard. Henry goes down. Hilliard comes in and gets a volume of work that makes some nice fantasy points. But he's had some good games himself earlier this season, has he, Anth? If you scroll up on that little table. Has he had a few games where he's week 1 it looks like a decent one, and week 5
mainly as a receiver. He's done really, really well as a receiver because that's as long as Henry's fit, that's his role. He's going to come in and he's going to be the passing downs back. But Henry goes down, then he's going to get the majority of all the work. Hassan Haskins will fill in and will spell in, but it will be Hilliard who gets the full role.
Okay. Next one.
We'll go Zamir White. This with Josh Jacobs with a dodgy calf. He played 3 snaps. He played 3 snaps at the weekend. As long as Jacobs fit, Zamir White's going to give you a duck egg. But we've seen how good Jacobs has been in that role. He's the number 1 running back in fantasy this year. Again, he wouldn't have the whole role because Amir Abdullah and Brandon Bolden will split the passing down works. But again, he'll give you good contributions.
Is there anyone of running backs who've gone down in the last week who we think the backups could be coming in for? I'm thinking 49ers, Jags, Jets.
Well, Etienne's practicing, and the Jaguars and Etienne himself said if they needed to come back in the game on Sunday, he could have done.
Right, so it's not a serious one for him.
But they held him out as precaution, so he's going to play, it looks like. So the 49ers, I think it's going to be Tyrion Davis-Price.
Right, so let's keep this thought about the 49ers because we're going to cover that game.
We'll come on to that game.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to repeat ourselves.
Yeah.
No, that's grand.
So keep that in mind.
Another one looking at stashing because the role is so valuable, as I mentioned with Justin Jackson last year. It appears Josh Kelly, he's come back into the fold. He's come back off IR, and it looks like he is now the backup again to Austin Eckler in the Chargers. So we know how good Eckler's been, certainly in the receiving game, how good Eckler's been this year, and how valuable that receiving role is when Herbert's been under centre for the Chargers, and before that, obviously with Phillip Rivers, it hasn't really changed. So Josh Kelly is definitely someone to be stashing.
Can he do the pass catching out the backfield, Blandy? Has he got that skill set? Because obviously Eckler is very good at it, isn't he?
Yeah. Obviously, he's not anywhere close to what Eckler is, but he's capable. Mm-hmm. Look with running backs. It's more opportunity than skill. Yeah, with wide receivers, we know. With wide receivers, we know it's a skill. Wide receivers earn targets because they're skillful. Where running backs earn fantasy points just because of opportunity. They don't actually have to be good at it. It's just opportunity.
Yeah, I think again, there's always a debate, isn't there, whether it's the running back or whether it's the offensive line creating the gaps. Anyone can dawdle through the gap if you make it big enough, and there's always an argument for either way. I think what we're saying is if it's a run-heavy team who's got a good run game, they can switch the back, and it won't be too detrimental.
Yeah, especially for 1 or 2. That's all we're looking at is 1 or 2 games. You're not looking.
Yeah, you're just taking that chance on that when you get in that playoff spot to land the jackpot.
Yeah.
Not that we're wishing players to go down injured.
No.
You just got to be prepared. Fail to prepare to fail, and all that.
Yeah, it's always a bonus as well when someone else in the playoff has got that big player who's gone down. Just so you can.
Not that you're wishing anyone to get injured or anything, but
no, that's it.
Hope everybody else gets an injury apart from me.
Yeah,
So we just got
the last. I'll mention one more. Last one is Keontae Ingram for the Cardinals, because literally behind James Conner they have absolutely nobody.
They've let them go, haven't they?
Yeah.
Eno Benjamin, who filled in.
Yeah, the release
well.
Eno Benjamin. Yeah. So of the last 187 snaps, James Conner's played 183 of them. So he's literally playing every single snap. And we know he has an injury history, especially when it comes to holding up to a large workload. Excuse me, he's going to get the bye this week to rest up. But yeah, if anything does happen to Connor in the last few games, then Keontae Ingram is the next man up there. He's the name to know.
Good stuff. Excellent.
So we've got Samaji Perine, Dontrell Hilliard, Zamir White, Joshua Kelly, and Keontae Ingram for the stashes, playoff stash.
And one more.
And even if you haven't made the playoffs, you could be a shithouse and pick them up anyway.
Get the blocking in.
Just get some fucking.
If you're really bitter, you've got really sour grapes, you think I've just missed off, but I'm gonna try and be first on the waivers and block everybody else.
Yeah, don't forget. So you've got the playoffs, then you've got the playoffs for the
secondary playoffs.
Secondary playoffs, yeah, the plate.
The plate.
Yeah, so fuck them. Get them back to your team as well. Let me cross these off, just ready for later. So we'll move on to Thursday night football.
Yes, Thursday night. Anyone staying up for it?
No.
No. You won't be able to keep your eyes open if you try.
No, I know. I need to. I want to watch it as well, so I'll record it and I'll watch it.
Watch it in the morning.
Tomorrow. Yeah. I won't look at my phone.
A reasonably good game though, isn't it? As well, we've had the conversation about Thursday night football most weeks saying we're not watching it. One, because it's too late for us in the UK, but also there's been some tripe games, hasn't there? This is a bit of a better game, isn't it? AFC West East clash. Two teams, haven't played each other this season yet. The Bills, we always want to watch the Bills and see what they've got. They're not necessarily firing at the moment, and the Patriots, again, we know what they're like. Even when they're not a great team, they're well coached, they stick around, they're a bit plucky, so it should be a good one.
Leon Foster, whatsoever like Ross Hutchinson. Is that his name? I didn't even know that was his name. It's a bit chilly. I've got my heating on. Fucking hell.
Must be cold.
I know. Cost me a fortune. So the Patriots about +4, something like that? +3.5.
3.5. This opened, I think, at 6.5, and the Patriots have been well backed.
Yeah, they're always quite plucky, aren't they? They always seem to hang around in games. And I think last week with the Vikings, we kind of fancied that the Vikings Cousins might do his usual bomb out on prime time, but I think they managed to keep their game. But I think the Patriots stuck with them for a large part of that, and they didn't get beat far, did they?
No, the Patriots are unfortunate. They had the Hunter Henry touchdown call back that should never have been called back.
And Mac Jones had a good game, didn't he?
Yeah, he did play well actually.
Again, I think
played his best game this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, he had a relatively good rookie of the quarterbacks. He was the best rookie quarterback last year statistically, I think. Yeah. He's not sort of kicked on this season. I think again we always look at him and think he's a bit of a game manager, isn't he? He's the scripting the game well for him, not asking him to be too expansive. So again, from a fantasy perspective, last week was a good week. I wouldn't be looking to pick him this week. I think there's probably better quarterback selections if you're streaming or you're short of a quarterback.
Yeah. Before we get onto the individual players, in terms of do you think the Bills cover this?
Good question. If I had to have a bet, I would back the Bills to cover it because the Bills are the Bills, but we don't know which version of the Bills we're getting at the moment, do we? Josh Allen hasn't been firing on all cylinders for the last few weeks. Still been winning games, still 8-3, but he's not in vintage Josh Allen mode, is he?
No, the defense is in a bad way.
Yeah,
And I
just
think
lost
he's-
Miller, haven't
They
they?
put Vaughan Miller on IR, so
Yeah,
he's out now till
that's a
week
blow.
17, at least. So
They've got White back though, haven't
in
they?
kind of, he's still getting his legs underneath him. So in the last 4 weeks, the Bills have actually given up the second most yards and receptions to wide receivers.
Right.
So they're pretty still a bit stingy on the ground, but they are giving up plenty to wide receivers, and in particular slot receivers. So it's good for Jacoby Myers tonight. They're giving up nearly 26 points a game to wide receivers lined up in the slot. And that's the fourth most. That's fourth most in the league per game in the last 4 weeks.
Sounds a lot.
Yeah. So,
Where would your money be, Anth? Then you're a big backer of the Bills, aren't you? What have you seen from them recently that you like or don't like, and how do you think the match?
It's like you say, it just seems a bit inconsistent at the minute, and it's really enjoyable to watch. I like watching them every week, but I wouldn't like to back them before a game at the minute. It's just
we don't. I guess we
too
don't
inconsistent.
We don't know how much his elbow's holding back Josh Allen, do we? I think he's not showing it. He's not going to show that, but he's still rushing pretty well. But you don't know what impact it's having on his ability to throw.
I mean,
again, the numbers seem to be the Bills a bit. Again, the Bills are going the other way, that they're moving a bit more successful on the run game through Allen as well as Singletary, and less in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, Josh had a decent game last week in terms of fantasy points again.
Mm-hmm.
So like 30 points, you know what I mean? So he was good in a fantasy aspect. But again, I know what you're saying. He's just
250 yards though, wasn't it?
Doesn't seem as consistent as he normally is. Like, but in terms of fantasy, obviously playing him every week, aren't you? So we'll start with the Pats players first. So Damian Harris ruled out. I think a lot of you probably already know that, but obviously impacts on Ramondre Stevenson.
But just staying on Harris.
For fuck's sake, I just crossed him off.
No, it's fine. Well, no, that's exactly the point. It might be a case now where if you've got him on your fantasy roster and you're looking at picking up one of these running backs that we spoke about, if one of them's available, I'd have no problem dropping Damian Harris for him. He's week to week with his injury, so what's week to week? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then even when he does come back, he's it's Ramondre's backfield now.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a role in the passing game, so his route to success is very, very slim.
They're loving Stevenson at the moment. Even Belichick's dishing out the praise, which is unusual for Belichick. I think I've seen him talk about. He spent a lot of time in the press conference praising him, which is again way out of the norm for the Patriots and Belichick. So he's very much the darling of New England, isn't he?
Yeah. So if you had Harris and wanted to drop him for one of these high priority running backs that we spoke about, I'd have no problem with that.
And again, Stevenson was a player we sort of had a little bit of a liking for pre-draft, didn't we? Say he was probably undervalued at rounds 7 or 8, something like that. We knew he was going to be a share early on, but we thought he had every chance to establish himself. I think it's those numbers in that passing game. Was it 10 and 9, 10 targets, 9 receptions last week in the passing game? That's really what you want from a fantasy back, isn't it?
In the last 6 games, he's had a 20% target share in New England. He has the 3rd highest amount of targets of all running backs in the league. And I said I had a stat for you, Anth, so he's the stat.
Yeah.
So since week 6, Stevenson in the receiving game alone, so ignore any of his rushing, in the receiving game alone, has scored more PPR points than Mike Evans, the Bucs wide receiver. In that time, Mike Evans has finished as the wide receiver 10 and the wide receiver 13. is a wide receiver 20 overall on the season. But since week 6, that's basically half a season. That's half a season that Ramondre has scored more receiving points than Mike Evans. That receiving role that's where he's getting a lot of his points. A lot of his points from. His receiving role.
Question. Sorry to interrupt. Question from the chat. Kenson Paris. Who should I start this week? Pick one. Debo, Burks, or Pickens.
Who wants to take it first? I would go Debo.
I would probably go Debo as well.
Oh, I didn't expect you to say Debo, you know.
Who were you going to say, like?
No, I just didn't expect you to say, especially not Blandy. I'd automatically say Debo because he's just fucking Debo, isn't it? But let's look into the numbers because
let's crunch it.
He's asking it for a reason, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she?
Yeah, like Burks. Burks plays Philadelphia, so it's going to be a really tough. They've got.
See, this is it. See, Burks is enticing you in. Burks is enticing you in.
Yeah, he's got a bit. He's on a good upward trend.
And Debo, yeah. Whoa.
I thought we're scratching Pickens off because I think Pickens is
no. Pickens been decent.
I'll say we like him.
Decent.
I'm still put off by the quarterback play if I'm picking Pickens.
Yeah, but he plays Atlanta in the dome.
Okay.
Right. Hang on.
Oh,
right. So Debo, we'll continue with Treylon Burks first. We'll continue with Treylon Burks. What are you saying about Treylon Burks, Mr. Bland?
I would not.
Why?
He's coming up against Philadelphia. They've got James Bradbury. They've got big play Slayer. I know the loss of nickel corner, Chancey Gardner-Johnson. But no, I think of the choice of the three of them, he will be third for me.
Right,
week.
Burks is gone. So not Burks. So we're down to Debo, Samuel, or Pickens. Let's go with Pickens next.
Like I say, for me, quarterback play puts me off, but I appreciate he's got a nice matchup this week.
Yeah,
and he is a good player. You know, we've talked about some of his, marvelled about his catches and the quality he's got, but I'm still not sold on the team and the quarterback for holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, it's just the Falcons give up the fifth most. They give up the most points to wide receivers overall. And they give up the fifth most points to wide receivers lined about wide, where Pickens generally plays.
Mm-hmm.
This lad's got some talent as well.
It's a nice selection to have, isn't it?
Yeah. The one thing that I don't think any of us could predict this game would be a shootout.
No.
And there's a very good chance that the 49ers Miami game is a shootout.
Could be. Yeah.
That the 49ers have to throw more to keep up with the Dolphins, because the Dolphins going to put points up against the 49ers.
Yeah, I think obviously he's made a comment about the bad hamstring. I think the flip side of that is I saw a little bit last week when I was watching the 49ers that when Mitchell went off, they started to get Debo a bit more involved in the backfield, which he hadn't been when they've been quite heavy, with CMC and Mitchell the last couple of weeks. Now he's gone off. I think CMC's getting his workload managed a bit. I'd expect to see a few handoffs, a few jet sweeps, a few,
Yeah, it's a good point
because that Debo, and again, we know Debo can make those explosive plays, 50, 60 yards in one play, can't we?
Yeah, it's a good point that, Barry, because CMC's questionable, isn't he? Obviously, Mitchell's out.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then obviously last year we've seen Debo from the backfield, just insane.
Yeah, devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that swings it.
I think it's tight because as bad as the Falcons are against wide receivers, Miami have been really good. In the last 4 weeks, 29th in yards allowed to wide receivers, so they've been pretty stingy in that regard. So it's more of a bet on talent, I think, and the hope that the game turns into a shootout, like I think it does. But
what's the numbers like, Blandy, on Burks? Is he still getting a relatively low snap share for someone who should be a wide receiver one? Is he still getting? Is he gone up to 70, 80, 90% now?
He's basically a full-time player now, bar obvious running downs. They're still taking him off the field on obvious running plays because he's not as good a blocker as the other ones they've got there.
Yeah.
But
because he's a rookie as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's very rare that those actual run plays are going to turn into a pass play if it breaks down or anything. So
look at the chat there. I think Kenson's sort of saying that I think he agrees that Debo, 100% Debo wouldn't be a question. So it's just the gamble on his fitness is the issue. I mean, again, watching the game last week, I seen they'll probably manage him a little bit, but I think he must be trending upwards to be close to fully fit.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just checked Twitter there. I can't see anything on the on today's one of the Blandy today's training
designations.
Yeah, well, they're West Coast, aren't they? So theirs will come out later on.
Right.
So Kenson, I think I'm saying Debo. Blandy, you're saying.
Yeah, Debo, but
Debo just.
I think it's a lot closer. It's a lot closer than what you have it. I think you're pretty conclusive, but.
I think Kenson knows. I think Kenson knows.
If Pickens over him, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't talk him out of it if he wanted to play Pickens over him.
Yeah, I think Kenson knows the score. Keep an eye on his training reports coming out for today, and then make a decision over maybe tomorrow or the day before on Saturday, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mahola from Hawaii.
Nice.
Hawaii. International. Thanks for the like and subscribe. Much appreciated.
Yeah, good question as well. Nice one, Kenson.
Cheers, mate.
We're back to the Bills Patriots, are we? I think we're working our way through the Patriots, guys, weren't we? So we've covered Stevenson Harris. The wide receivers seem a little bit of a head scratcher to me in terms of there's a few mouths to feed, and again Stevenson's getting his good share, which means the rest are struggling somewhat. What's your take on
it? For me, the only one you can start confidently is Jacoby Myers. Anybody else is just a bit of a dart throw, to be honest with you.
Is that based on snap share? Is it targets and
talent?
Just talent. Well. I would say the other ones aren't, Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne and that. They're not really sort of
Parker. No.
They're not pulling you in to say, "Oh wow."
No, they don't. Like Jacoby Myers, the way he commands targets and dominates targets. He's quite clearly the number one wide receiver in the offense. Yeah.
And I see you've got the tab for Hunter Henry up there. I mean, I like Hunter Henry as a player, but he doesn't seem to get enough volume. He's getting a handful of targets a week, and is obviously very touchdown reliant.
Yeah, I think he's closer to getting a handful of targets a month. Never mind a handful of targets a week. It doesn't help that him and John are splitting the role. They're just tertiary pieces at this point.
For fantasy, it's a no-go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, I said Mac Jones myself, like I say, a good week last week. I wouldn't be chasing that and putting him in again this week.
Nope.
I think there's better quarterbacks. If you need a quarterback, have a look elsewhere. What else is available?
Yeah.
Onto the Bills running back, Singletary.
Yeah, I like him. I like Singletary. Again, he's obviously the lead, isn't he, Blandy? I think the only problem with it is that Allen, takes his share of the rushes and gives him, that takes away that high ceiling, I think, on Singletary.
Yeah. The Bills don't want to run. They can't particularly run, and you can't run on this Patriots team. They are superb against the run. The Patriots, especially in this last 4 weeks, they're giving up about 2 yards a carry.
So, does that mean they're a bit weaker against the pass, though?
Dalvin Cook last week, I think he had 22 rushes for 42 yards.
Yeah.
And Singletary will be a lesser runner than Dalvin Cook.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So,
James Cook, you're not playing James Cook, are you?
Nope.
No, I don't think so. No.
He's a dynasty player. If he's obviously they've drafted him. If you've got him on a dynasty bench to go a deep bench, keep holding for a bit. But
Naheem Hines has been absolutely fantastic since he joined the Bills in fucking special teams.
He's been brilliant on special teams. Yeah, he's been brilliant. Yes, he's been really good on.
No good for my pissing fantasy team.
No.
I think you've bought into the narrative too much there, Anth, haven't you? And gambled that he's going to get this role and he's going to get all these dump offs. And
well, I had him. To be honest, I had him when he was at the Colts, and he was not that I would start him every week, but at least he was an option sometimes if I was struggling.
Yeah.
But now he's not an option at all. So
he's probably not one to have on your roster, is he, Blandy? Cut him from your roster, would you say?
Oh yeah, God no, you don't.
Because
if anything happened to Singletary. It wouldn't be Hines taking a full-time role. So
he's probably 1% roster, and that'll be Anth.
Yeah, that'd be me. Yeah,
there's no
clinging on to my hopes and dreams. Naheem Hines.
You're loyal.
Dawson Knox, shit season really in terms of fantasy points.
Yeah.
He was one of them out of the top 3 or 4 tight ends. He was one of them ones who might have been like the next tight end, I guess, wasn't he? But just hasn't happened, has it?
No,
I mean, his role hasn't changed. Like, his role this year is the exact same role as he had last year. The only difference is last year, every five receptions, he caught a touchdown. It's completely unsustainable. So, touchdown regression's caught up with him this year, and kind of is what he is.
We've talked about the peril of tight ends anyway, haven't we? Other than the big 2 tight ends, although Andrew's doing his best to put that one to bed. The rest of the tight ends, they're all very touchdown dependent, and there's not a lot of them who are real sort of target hogs, is there?
No, not at all. Not at all. And the Patriots have been pretty stingy against tight ends recently. So
I mean,
Hawkinson, obviously. He started like a house on fire for the Vikings, and he had kind of a quietish game by his standards last week.
I think last time we did talk about tight ends, I think I did put him as the best of the rest, and I think I still wouldn't change it off one bad game.
Oh, Hawkinson.
Yeah,
no, I wouldn't. I'd agree with that. I think since he's gone to the Vikings, I think he's on pace for something like 110 receptions or something like that, which. At the tight end position is invaluable.
And what's happened to your man, Mark Andrews, Anth?
I don't know. Do you know what? Last week last season he'd have caught it 9 times out of 10.
The one that hit him square in the hands in the end zone.
Yeah,
he looked like he deliberately knocked it down.
I don't know if he's struggling with like some pains or something. I don't know.
He had that one a few weeks ago where it smashed him in the chest, and he didn't even get his hands on it. He's gone from an absolute sort of, machine who doesn't drop anything to sort of being very, very drop heavy.
Yeah. I don't know if he's struggling with injury or something, but
quite possibly.
I guess if you've got Dawson Knox in your team, you're going to be playing Dawson Knox, aren't you?
If you've drafted Dawson Knox early, you think you'll be scratching your head. I think you'd be looking on the waiver wire for better tight ends. But another guy you like, Anth, is another one on your list there of the wide receiver 3 you've got left on the Bills. McKenzie's having a good little run up, isn't he?
Yeah, he just
had a good game last week.
Good game last week, yeah, and I left him out as well. I know he changed him, but he seems to be. I'm not sure if it's the game script. Blandy will probably know. Is it the opposition? Because he seems to be quite up and down. It's hard to pin the good weeks and the bad weeks, really, as an owner.
Yeah, it is more to do with coverages, defensive coverages. So if he plays against a team that's in man coverage, then he has better games than he does with teams that play zone coverage. The Detroit, they play a lot of man coverage, and the Patriots play a lot of man coverage. So if you wanted to start him this week, Anth, I wouldn't discourage you. He'd probably get a duck egg.
Yeah. I'll fucking be fuming next week.
It looks to me though that he's got the trust, hasn't he? He's got the trust of Josh Allen and the Bills, so that they'll go to him when they like the matchup, and whether it's because they've got man and they fancy the out the slot against a smaller guy or whatever. He's not. When his bad games are not because he's not a good player, he's not fancied. I think it's just matchup dependent, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if Diggs is roasting somebody, they're going to go there all the time, aren't they? And again, if Dave Davis gets a good matchup and they can bully the number 2 corner, they're going to go there. And I think it's a lot reliant on that.
Yeah, I think I saw a statistic today, and I can't remember who posted it, but since Diggs has gone to Buffalo, no other wide receiver has put up more receiving yards than Stephon Diggs against the Patriots. So, Diggs is going to have his usual game anyway, regardless. But there's probably chances there for McKenzie, I would say.
So you're playing Diggs. What about Gabe? You going to play Gabe?
Just trying to dig into some numbers here.
Gabe's similar, isn't he?
He's been
touchdown dependent, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I liked him after he had that strong finish into last season. He thought, he's going to go in number 2, pass heavy team, he's going to get some big numbers, and he's very much up 1 week, down the next. If you've got him, which I've got in one of the leagues, he's difficult to leave out because you think, who have I got that's better as my second or third wide receiver?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always happy starting Gabe Davis as a wide receiver 3 because I'm happy to take the 5 and 6 point games for the
25 and 30s.
Yeah. So I think he's very similar to Mike Williams with the Chargers. Yeah. Where, there's always that boom potential there. So, if you can't live with the 5 and 6 point games, then you don't deserve the 35 point games.
Yeah. So you're playing him. In short, you're playing him.
It's the what we said a couple of weeks ago. Roll the dice, isn't it? He's someone you want to roll the dice on.
Right. The next game. I forgot the next game. Lions versus the Jags.
Good one. This was another decent little game, this, isn't it? I think the first thing I had a look at this when I looked at this game. They're both 4 and 7. The teams are any of them sort of thinking they're still in the playoff hunt, or are they both dead and sort of trying to keep momentum going for next season, or is this the game where one of them does get killed off?
I think it's probably a bit of both.
They're both trending upwards, aren't they? They've both hit rock bottom. Yeah. They're on the way up. They've got decent-ish coaches in now. Neither coach is going to get sacked in the off-season because they've had enough upside to keep them in a job, I would imagine. So, it's an interesting enough game on that perspective. I just don't know whether any of these teams have got an outside squeak of a wild card spot.
They could do. I mean, I think isn't half the league getting to the playoffs nowadays since they've expanded the playoffs. So there's definitely a chance. That they'll pick up a wild card spot. That's for sure.
But you'd have to wait.
What's the over-under?
One's going to have to win this game. 51.5 I've got as the over-under.
Right. And which way do you go, Barry? On that
overall
take?
On the number? I mean, it's a big number, but I'd probably be looking over. I think the Jags defense is pretty rancid, isn't it? And the Lions might be getting a little bit better, but they're still not shutting people down. So,
no.
And again, I think we've come off last week where Trevor Lawrence had probably one of his better games of his career, didn't he, last week? And he's riding a bit about a purple patch at the moment. So all of the indicators are pointing for a shootout in this for me.
Purple patch?
Yeah. I don't think this is a purple patch. I think this is what Trevor Lawrence is.
It's a purple patch compared to what we've seen through the day, but we know the talent.
What the fucking hell is a purple patch?
You don't know what purple patch is?
I've just fucking never heard of it in my life.
You need to go back to podcast school. Get yourself back to podcast school.
Purple patch? Oh, why does that mean you've got a rich vein of form?
Just a hot streak, isn't it? A purple patch, yeah.
I think you made it up.
Get it googled.
Purple patch.
Anyway, the reason why I like over 51.5 in this game. So you've got 2 O lines that are top 8 in the league and adjusted sack rating. So they don't give up many sacks, and then you've got 2 D lines that are the bottom 6 in the league and adjusted sacks rate, which basically means they don't get very many sacks. So these 2 quarterbacks are going to have loads of time to pass. And then also these 2 defenses are really, really good the last month or so against stopping the run. So the Lions are only giving up 68 yards a game against the run, 3.7 yards a carry, and the Jags are giving up 70 yards a game, 3.8 yards a carry in the last month. So, but both teams can be beaten through the air. So you're going to have quarterbacks who've got loads of time to pass, and run games that are probably not really going to get going. So, and also it's in a dome as well. I believe it. Yeah, it's in Detroit. It's in a dome as well. Yeah. So there's no weather concerns. I think this could go well over, to be quite honest with you.
Okay. Before we get to the players, a purple patch, run of success or good luck. People expect me to score in every game now. I've hit a purple patch. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Every day's a school day for you, Anth.
Every day is for me. It is, mate. Yeah. There you go. We don't just bring fantasy relevance to this to the world.
There's an educational piece in there, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Onto the Lions. DeAndre Swift. Poor DeAndre Swift owners. This man here, Jamal Williams, the thorn in your side.
Has anyone who's got Swift got the balls to drop him? That's the question. Because he's become. You feel like you're obliged to play him, but look at his numbers. I think since the first week he had a great week 1, he's probably had a couple of weeks in double digits, and that's it. You know, if you took away what you knew about him and just looked at his numbers, you'd never pick this guy. But you probably drafted him in round 2 or round 3. You feel like you have to, because when he I'm
in a 14-team league. And I drafted him in the second round. Took him in the second round. And I've played him every single week. I've played him every single week that he's been available, bar last week, because he had Samaje Perine on my bench stashed. So Perine went in instead. And I think I'm 3rd in that league, and I'm the highest point scorer in the league. So I think it's a bit of a fallacy when people say that Swift has hurt your teams. I don't think he's hurt teams. I think he's definitely not what you're expected when you drafted him.
Yeah.
But he's done just if you've drafted a solid roster overall, you're always capable of taking an 8 or 10 points at your running back 2 spot, if that's the case.
I would say you've obviously drafted a team that you can carry him with. He's absolutely not what you want off a second round pick. You want someone who's getting teens points with 20
you drafted Swifty thinking he was going to be like a Taylor this year. I think you thought he was going to be like a.
I thought he could be.
Even Austin Eckler.
I thought he could be the overall running back 1 in fantasy.
Yeah.
What's he coming out at? RB 33, 31 standard PPR.
31, yeah. 31 in PPR.
And then Jamal Williams, hasn't he got the joint most, or is it the most now? Touchdowns in the league?
No, he leads the league in touchdowns, yeah. Evan Silver of a run, he backed him at 150 to 1 to lead the league in touchdowns.
Fucking hell.
In the off-season.
So, we've had the conversation a couple of times about Swift and what is it with him that he's not getting that volume of work. And I think we, without any knowledge, we're just making it up a little bit that is he not sort of brave enough, strong enough to play, injured, and is it a mental thing with him that he can't quite handle the physicality of it?
Or are they looking after him?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
both.
A bit of both. He's certainly technically the better.
I think again, If anyone watched Hard Knocks as well, the Hard Knocks was quite insightful, wasn't it? You know, Williams did come across like a bit of a leader in that backfield. He was giving emotional speeches. He was the guy that, you know, the running back and probably the whole team was looking to say, look, I'm sick of this losing crack. You know, we're better than this. Let's put our, you know, shoulders in. And, you know, I think again, probably Dan Campbell's ways that he certainly, you know, bought into that and probably give him more of a crack on it. And he's earned it and he's delivering. So why move away from it?
He seems like that gritty player, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Even if I've got the talent of Swift, but Swift is maybe not, you know, putting his body on the line as much as Williams will give you everything he's got. So yeah, it was interesting, that Hard Knocks. And again, there seemed to be the coaches getting into Swift mentally. You know, come on, challenge him. You've got to believe you're the best. As if he was weak.
Deuce Staley was a running back himself, wasn't he, in the league?
Right.
So, and a good running back at that. So I found that section on Hard Knocks where he was, you know, he was trying to convince Swift of like how good he was. He was like Swift was doubting himself as to how good he actually was.
And again, we forget that not everybody is an absolute sort of mentally tough animal that they can just sort of believe in. You know, everybody's different, and maybe this guy is, and you know, hopefully it works out for him. I don't wish him any bad. But yeah, from a fantasy perspective, those numbers aren't what you probably expected them to be the other way around. I would think if you just purely looked at the numbers at the start of the season, you would have put Swift on Williams' numbers and vice versa.
You're playing both, yeah?
Yeah.
There's no point talking about a tight end for
I have
the Lions.
Have they got one?
That I spoke about. No, which is quite unfortunate because there's definitely routes to success there against the Jaguars, but yeah, no, you can't.
Now, I've only pulled Amon-Ra St. Brown up in terms of the wide receivers for the Lions. Can I add anyone else that you might play?
Not for me. I've wrote down you can only play Williams and St. Brown.
Maybe DJ Chark.
DJ.
If you're desperate.
The good thing about DJ Chark is you can use a nice Great White Shark gif if he gets a touchdown.
Exactly.
So always bear that in mind for DJ Chark.
Exactly. Like
he had a decent enough week last week. So are we saying that's a bit of a comeback? He must have been injured for a while, has he, Blandy? Is this him maybe coming back into the fold?
Yeah. I believe it was his ankle. So, you know, the healthier he gets, he's definitely at the moment the wide receiver 2 in the team.
But we're saying there's enough volume to go around in this team and this scoring offense.
I mean, he hasn't got much competition.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's not. No.
It depends. What do we think the status of Williams is? The other Williams, the Jameson Williams that they drafted, is he anywhere near coming back, or?
They've opened his window to practice, but he's still on IR as it stands.
Because he was very highly regarded, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's superb. But
he's a rookie,
It's probably going to be next year now. Yeah. They'll let him get his feet wet towards the back end of this year, but it's very much looking forward to next year with him.
Okay.
52% rostered. So if you're in Dynasty on Sleeper, have a look for Jameson Williams.
Yeah, he's a star.
I would imagine he's in Dynasty. I would imagine he's 52. I imagine that roster percentage is 100%.
Yeah,
right.
He's a first round pick, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, Jared Goff. If you're struggling at QB,
I think when I said I wouldn't play Mac Jones, I'd be going for Goff ahead of Mac Jones if I was streaming a QB for this week. I think again he's been up and down on his points, and he's up. Yeah, again, the lines have been up and down, but it's all set up for him to sling it about this week, isn't it? You know, I think again some of them down weeks was when he did have some injuries to his weapons. You know, St. Brown hasn't played every week, has he? And we talked about the tribulations of Swift, so he's had some weeks where he hasn't had much to work with. But I think he's certainly capable. And I think he fits the scheme quite well, and he's getting good protection, which I think again always helps, doesn't it, with someone like Goff?
Yeah, it definitely helps. Definitely helps Jared Goff because he's horrendous under pressure.
But he's been making some nice.
Definitely help.
He's been making some nice throws, though, hasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he can definitely sling the ball. He can definitely distribute the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown when he has to.
And he's been to a Super Bowl, so he's not sort of overawed by the big stage, etc. He's got a little bit of experience into that in the locker.
What's the latest on Travis Etienne? Obviously went off injured last week.
Today. Yeah, practice again today. They said, and he said, if he needed to, he could have come back in the game last week. So it looks like he's going to play this week.
Good, because I've got him in our league, so that's an absolute bonus because I've got very little behind him. And you guys have been hoovering up all the running backs, so
yeah, you don't want to leave any good stashes on the waiver wire, do you?
So I'm very much dependent on him playing to be able to make the playoffs, I think.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram. Go on.
No, I think since he had this back injury pop up, his numbers have gone right down. He's still playing his full-time role, but his inclusion in games has been very limited.
Okay. Evan Ingram. Could you? He had a few good weeks, you know.
Speaking about.
Oh, sorry. He had a few good weeks, you know, and I picked him up because Andrews was struggling with that injury. It just hasn't been. You can't play him with any confidence.
No, I think he got injured in that Week 9 game against Las Vegas. His snaps dropped out, and then since then it's held him back, and even through the bye week, he's done absolutely nothing. So
he's never been a safe pair of hands, has he?
No, he hasn't. No.
So for that reason alone, I don't want. I'm looking elsewhere.
His actual role has been really, really good. So if they can get themselves a good tight end in the off season, because it was only a 1-year contract that he signed. So if they can get themselves a good tight end, that role next year will be very, very valuable.
On the wide receivers, Zay Jones had a decent week last week, didn't he? But he picked up a little knock, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
He'd be grand.
He'd be grand.
He's fine.
So for any people in the US, I'll be grand means he'll be good. He'll be fine.
He seems to like Lawrence seems to like Zay Jones in the red zone. I think earlier in the season I've seen a few of Jags game and he's going to get a lot of red zone targets and again obviously he's got did he get a touchdown last week or did he just get a monster amount of yards?
Just a monster amount of yards, I guess.
Yeah. He caught the
14 targets
conversion, didn't he? He caught the 2-point conversion.
Conversion.
How many points you get for that?
Yeah. How many do you think you get?
I'd say
for a 2-point conversion.
I'd say 4.
3?
Oh, so you just get 2 points?
Yeah, your QB gets 2 in there. QB gets 2 and the wide receiver gets 2.
Makes sense, like. And that and purple patch today, fucking hell. So much knowledge.
Some pearls of wisdom there for you.
Christian Kirk, you're playing Christian Kirk all day long.
I think you're playing both Jones and Kirk, aren't you? For me, I think they've both got a good enough upside, and like I said about Lawrence again. If you've got Lawrence or he's available, and you want to stream a QB. I think you can stack them, especially in this game. Wouldn't see that as a bad play.
Right, the Lions to slot wide receivers. Kirk. That's where Kirk plays. Kirk has ran more routes out of the slot than any other wide receiver in the league this year. You're welcome. They give up the 5th most fantasy points per game to slot wide receivers. So Christian Kirk is going to have a very productive week this week.
I like it.
But going back to Zay Jones, go back to Zay Jones. The Lions give up the second most, along with the Bills. In the last 4 weeks, the Lions have given up the second most yards to wide receivers and the 5th most receptions. So Zay Jones again, you can start him as a wide receiver 3.
I was going to say he's a good wide receiver 3 flex
what
player.
You mentioned on Zay Jones earlier there, Baz.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far this year, he's had 11 targets inside the 20-yard line, Zay Jones, in 10 games. So basically, he's averaging 1 a game, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
they are looking his way.
you can't talk about the Jaguars wide receivers without talking about Sexy Marvin, the most handsome man in football.
Yeah,
can you play him?
The most irrelevant one, but yeah, if you want to talk about him, no. But no.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Can you play him? Probably.
No. If you're
Revenge
desperate.
game narrative, boys.
Against the Lions. Oh, you like a story, don't you? You like a story.
Going back there.
If you have to pick 4 wide receivers,
it's romantic, that, isn't it? Find my hot girls here in the chat. Thanks for that. Barry will probably.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no hot boys, unfortunately.
There's
Between the 3 of us, fellas, nothing else. I'll just clarify.
Moving on.
Moving swiftly on. To the next. What?
The Bills have elevated John Brown from the practice squad for tonight's game. I don't believe anybody was injured, eh?
I'll say what do we read into that?
I'm not sure. I'm just seeing if I can find my go-to Bills beat reporter to see if there's any news as to why.
Are we going to move on to the while Blandy's looking at? And can we look at the Dolphins 49ers next?
Yeah, sorry.
Because I think this is probably
as to why they've elevated them.
This is probably one of the games of the weekend, and possibly one of the key sort of, for me, finding out a bit about teams. One of the key games of the season at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got the 49ers defense who were billed as the number 1 defense or the elite defense, and the Dolphins offense who are, when Tua plays, one of the best, if not the best offense, and which one of them is going to sort of win out. I think that you're going to find a lot about whoever comes out on top of this game in terms of how deep they're going to go in the playoffs. I think, again, there's a lot of chat about the 49ers and in their strong defense, who have they played? The Chiefs put a ton of points on them, didn't they?
Yeah.
When they played the Chiefs. I think the strong defenses come against a lot weaker teams, so it'll be interesting to see can they shut down somewhat the Dolphins, who are pretty much free scoring.
Now, I was shocked, I tell you, when I looked at this spread. 49ers -4.
Yeah, I think it should be. You could give 49ers a couple of points for
home field advantage.
Yeah, but it should be one. It should only be 1 or 2 points above a field goal. Get more than a field goal. Get more than a field goal for the Dolphins is generous.
I think the market and in general are undervaluing the Dolphins, and I think they're 8-3, but I'm not sure off the top of my head how many of those losses came when Tua was out injured.
3.
All 3.
3.
Yeah,
all 3.
So for whatever reason, the betting in the market doesn't fancy them. If the Dolphins win this game in San Francisco, I think that's the turning point when people start believing they've got real Super Bowl potential. And I've said for a few weeks now, I think they're the real deal, the Dolphins. The 14-1 for the Super Bowl, I would say back them before this game, because if they win this game, they'll shorten somewhat.
Probably half in price.
And I've had a little squeak on them at 14s.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
So can you tell me the last decent team the 49ers played?
The Chiefs.
Everyone said we remember that Chiefs game because of 44 points on them in San Fran.
Yeah, and Barry was saying they had to blitz Mahomes. They're not going getting any pressure. They've got to blitz Mahomes. They blitz Mahomes. He hit Juju for a 70-yard touchdown.
They had to do something.
Not that.
All over that Dolphins bet this. They got Vikings and Dolphins mixed up there, but all over that Dolphins bet this week, I think. Is there a chance this could sneak into the bet of the week?
What, to back the Dolphins?
Yeah.
I think it's a tough. I know we're talking about 49ers and saying that the defense they are still a very good defense. I haven't seen them a lot recently. They're not relying on one or two players that seem to be all contributing, and they've got Joey Bosa as well. He's virtually one sack a game for the season, and I think the team's got 33 sacks for the season. So they're going to put some pressure on whoever they're playing. But I think we're just kind of saying we might fancy that the Dolphins' offense is up to the challenge, but the defense of 49ers could win out. I wouldn't say this is my bet of the weekend by that. No. Okay. It's certainly a game of the weekend though.
Let's go on to the players then. Starting with the 49ers. So Elijah Mitchell's out for the 6 to 8 weeks.
That's him done, isn't it?
That's him done, yeah.
Yeah, rest of the regular season, yeah.
Yeah. But then you get into CMC. This is questionable.
Did we put it on our Twitter feed about the link about him wearing that little knee brace thing for his tendonitis?
No, he's practicing in full today.
Is he?
Currently, yeah. Officially practicing caught passes from Garoppolo, sprinting at full speed.
He's a tough little so-and-so as well, isn't he? But I think that they're mindful not to do what has happened to him at the Panthers and just give him that huge workload and eventually he breaks down because it's just one player too many. I think they are trying to limit him somewhat in that. And also maybe save him for the playoffs, you know what I mean?
It definitely seems like a different role, doesn't it? And you're just like...
Yeah.
You don't want to bust him now, though, do you?
You look, when he was with the Panthers, last game with the Panthers, 81% snaps. Since he's come for the 49ers, he's played 66%. So. Yeah, the mind.
It's good for CMC. It's good for the 49ers. It's not good for fantasy.
It's still fine for fantasy because
I was going to say he's still capable, isn't he? He's still very good on the touches that he gets.
Yeah, it's just the overall ceiling. The overall ceiling's not there anymore.
Yeah, but
you're just being greedy, Anth.
Yeah. But all the CMC owners would be fucking greedy as well. They'd be fuming. I would be anyway. But
Hammer seems to take it well in our group.
Yeah, take it well. But obviously you're going to play him. If he's fit.
Yeah.
Even if he does play, which looks like he's going to.
Yeah.
What does it mean for the likes of Mason? Mason's the only one I've brought up because that's the only one I could remember at the top of my head.
What did he do last week, Mason? Was he the guy who filled in?
Filled in at the end. But Mason Mason's only active because he's played special teams.
Okay.
Tyrion Davis-Price. That's who I think is now going to take the Elijah Mitchell role. I think it's going to be Tyrion Davis-Price. That fella there. Yeah. Now
is he a rookie?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, 3rd round rookie out of LSU.
Okay.
Scroll up, Anth, please. This second game here of the season, Mitchell went down in the first game, as we all know. Mm-hmm. Tyrion Davis-Price was a healthy scratch. Didn't play. Jordan Mason played in the first game. And then in the second game, because Mitchell was out, Tyrion Davis-Price was then active. He played, and Jordan Mason never touched the ball in that game. He only played special teams. So I think the only reason that Tyrion Davis-Price hasn't been on the active roster is because he doesn't play special teams and Jordan Mason does. Right. I think he's going to assume the Elijah Mitchell role.
But when we were talking about Debo as well, as much share as what Mitchell was getting, or are they going to give Debo a bit and maybe tweak CMC a little bit more?
Debo's missed practice today. He's not practicing.
quad issue. So that was hamstring. Again, it's that typical, you try and deal with a hamstring and you put more strain on another muscle and you get another muscle strain.
Yeah.
That's quite common,
Yeah,
isn't it?
so that makes Kenson's question earlier on a bit more between
Yeah.
Debo or Pickens.
But we did say keep an eye on the injury report. It might just be precautionary.
Could be, but yeah, we've got McCaffrey practicing, knees okay, Debo not seen, and then a few defensive players they were back.
Yeah, in terms of fantasy anyway, you're not going to be starting this Tyrion lad, are you?
No, I've added him in a few leagues just as a stash, just to see what's if how big of it. If I'm correct and he does get the Mitchell role, how big of a Mitchell role does he take on?
Yeah, so he could have been added to the stash list again as well. Maybe an outside stash. Yeah,
he's the one I started talking about when you told me to shut up.
You told us off, Anth, when we tried to bring it up before.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I think, again, looking through the receiver, I think all of these injuries probably points to more action for Ayuk, who, again, I think had a good game last week, didn't he? If you look at his numbers there, you've got across the top there.
Ayuk's been very, very good all year.
Yeah, I think he's...
very good all year.
He's, what's he there, 17 wide receiver. You've obviously played him anyway, but he's definitely... he's got... his ceiling's just going up and up at the moment with all these other injuries, I think.
Yeah, 65 yards. Okay, he had a down game against Arizona, but he scored 2 touchdowns to kind of make up for it. 84 yards, 81 yards, 82 yards.
He's looking good as well, isn't he? When the eye test, he looks good.
Like obviously start of last year, he was in Shanahan's doghouse.
A few drops, was it?
No, it was
pass protection.
No, preparation. He didn't take. So he came in. He was drafted as a rookie during the COVID year, so everything was done online. And then going into his next year, they were back practicing normal, and he kind of didn't know how to prepare himself properly because he hadn't had that during the COVID year, right? And because everything was just done remotely and online, he's kind of thinking, oh, well, this is pretty easy,
So a bit of professionalism and sort of
and Shanahan made him earn it, but now he's now stepped up where I don't think he's one of the team captains, but he's certainly one of the players in the locker room who after the game he's given the speeches to the
chat.
You see him all standing up after games and giving speeches in the dressing room to players and stuff like that. And he's one of them. So he's gone from being in Shanahan's doghouse to a potential captain on the team. So
okay,
if Debo's out, can you take a punt on Jennings?
Well, here's a question for me. I think he had a good game last week, and he seems to. Is he still up and down?
It was very strange. I mean, that touchdown, that the whole drive of that when he scored that touchdown, it was literally just the Juwan Jennings drive.
Sure.
Right? Everything. It was.
Was that case if they've got a matchup they like them just going to it, and if it's still working right, and they don't change the defense and just keep going there, or is there more to it than that?
Also, it might have been a bit of Shanahan not wanting to put something on tape that he's kind of saving for a big game this week. He was kind of holding stuff back, so going to a lesser player. I don't know, but it was very odd.
There's not a lot that each other can hold back on, is it? Because obviously they're very well entwined, these two coaches, aren't they?
Yeah.
You wouldn't think there's many secrets they have on. They haven't been apart for too long, have they?
No, but they're both,
both clever cookies,
offensive gurus. So
yeah, clever cookies there.
Google that one, clever cookie.
Yeah. If you've got Kittle, you're playing Kittle.
This could be George Kittle tight end 1 week. The Miami defense last 4 weeks second in points allowed to tight ends. They played the Texans, the Bears, and the Cleveland Browns without David Njoku. And they've not been able to stop any of them. So especially if Debo is out or if Debo's limited, you imagine that Kittle's role is going to grow even more. So
he's not going to block as much.
No, Kittle could well be the overall tight end one this week. That wouldn't be a surprise to me.
Do you know what? I'm going to stick him on my anytime touchdown scorer.
I wrote down George Kittle.
Kittle.
Put the
When was his last touchdown? Oh, not done. Oh, yeah. All right. Anytime. Right, we've got to make this podcast pay, haven't we, by putting bets on. So we like a story, don't we? We love a story. Jeff Wilson.
The return of the 49ers backs, 2 of them. Although only one's fit, potentially.
Yeah, only one's fit. Limited yesterday though. Is there anything from the?
He'll. I think most will be active.
You get a little sprinkle.
Yeah. How big a role he plays, I don't know, but it's going to be very hard running on this 49ers defense. But you can beat them, or you can nullify them, should I say, through the air with your running backs. They're only middle of the pack when it comes to stopping running backs through the air. But on the ground, it's going to be pretty tough sledding. So you're going to be reliant, I think, on some dump offs, etc.
Are you playing Jeff Wilson and sitting Mostert?
Yeah.
I think so. I think we'd said in the last couple of weeks when we've covered the Dolphins that Wilson's probably edged out Mostert anyway when they're both being fit. The week he first came in, he seemed to get a higher snap share than we predicted. So he's slotted in very well, and I think he is going to be the lead, even if it is a 70-30 split.
Yeah.
But he's got some reasonable numbers catching there, hasn't he? Or some, he's had a few decent. He's had a catching, a receiving touchdown, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's pretty decent through the Jeff Wilson has been.
So that's what you're saying. That suits this game script, doesn't it? Potentially.
Yeah.
And we know the 49ers are going to bring the heat out. They're going to get a lot of pressure on Tua, and again, this is one of the areas the game's going to be won or lost, isn't it? On how well they can protect Tua. Did Armstead go off last week for the Dolphins?
He did. He's questionable this week.
I think I seen a number said 5 sacks after he went off against the Texans. The 49ers are going to be licking their lips if he's not there, aren't they?
Yeah, he'd be a big miss. A big miss.
Okay.
But that just means getting the ball out quicker, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To negate that. So
it might mean that Hill hasn't got enough time to get down the field as fast as he is.
Doesn't matter, because they do it over the middle of the field, and that's where the 49ers are susceptible as well, is over the middle of the field. So I think it's, regardless of whether Armstead plays, to be quite honest, I think it's going to be a lot of shallow stuff designed for Hill and Waddle and let them work after the catch over the middle of the field. So,
okay. Mike Gesicki, you said he was undraftable at the start of the season. Looks like you're right.
He's a strange one, isn't he? Because the thing is, the week he had his up week, what week did he have his up week? Week 6. He'd done naff all for 5 weeks. So you weren't playing him there. You probably, you'd have had to have patience of a saint to keep with him for week 5. So you've missed that week. You've had one reasonable week off in week 8. He's a strange one.
Like but you just look at his snap shares, like 54%, 46, 49. 46.
And did we say this is because he's no good in blocking?
So this little purple patch where he had 60+% snap share, that's because Durham Smythe was injured at the time. Smythe's back now.
Caught a touchdown last week as well, didn't he, Smythe?
He caught the touchdown last week, Gesicki's he's irrelevant.
Yeah, and obviously you played Tyreek Hill and Waddle, but I've left him in here just obviously these are key to the Dolphins turning that spread over, I guess.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Do you fancy him doing it?
Hill personally or the team?
I think we'll cover the spread.
You think they'll cover the spread?
He's very difficult to stop, Hill, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
I think in pre-draft he's moved away from the Chiefs and Mahomes. Can he replicate that explosiveness and those touchdowns in a different team under a different quarterback? And obviously we know now the answer is yes. And he'll be going next year in the top 5 picks, won't he?
Yeah.
And then on to our last game of the night is the Bengals, or the Chiefs at Bengals.
This is another little barnstormer of a game, isn't it?
Should be. Fingers crossed. I mean, it was good last year, wasn't it? Jamar Chase had a day.
It's not the exact replay of the playoffs, because the playoff game was in Arrowhead, wasn't it? But it's a little bit of a rematch in terms of the two teams. And the Chiefs raced ahead in the first quarter, and then the Bengals picked them off, didn't they? And then won in OT from a turnover, wasn't it?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yes, the Bengals changed their defense at half time. Only rushed 3. Kept the spy in for Mahomes and dropped the rest, and they didn't really have any answers to it.
So I think again, I'm hoping Jamar Chase is fit, like properly fit enough to play. I know that they're saying that he's fit and he's going to play, but they'll be saying that for at least a little bit of a gamesmanship, won't they?
Yeah. Before we get onto the players,
yeah.
In terms of the spread, so the Bengals there plus 2.
So it's pretty much a pick 'em, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's not many games won by 1 or 2 points. As soon as you get under a field goal, it is virtually a pick 'em, isn't it? Although if you want the team, you might as well take the points. It's a tough one to call. I'd probably lean the Chiefs, especially if I knew Chase was firing on all cylinders. I might be more tempted on the Bengals.
Andy?
Yeah. I think I'd probably side with the Bengals, just because I don't like laying points on the road with teams, especially against another good team. But yeah, it is difficult. It's not a game I'll be having a bet in. That's for sure.
No, it's one to sit back and load up with snacks and watch, isn't it?
Snacks.
Very much so.
Joe Mixon logged limited practice yesterday. Was there any update since we've been on air?
No, I haven't seen anything, but he'll play by all accounts.
If he does play, what does that mean for our Stasham? Samaji P. Ryan.
He's exactly that again. He's just a stash. But we have seen we have seen a few players this year with concussions, in particular, where they've had a concussion, they've missed a game, they've come back, they've got another blow at the head, and then they've gone down again. So, just because Mixon's back doesn't mean you're dropping P. Ryan. You just you can't start him.
You can't start him.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. In spots where I've got him, I'm not starting him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we
need to see Mixon obviously clear the concussion protocol in full.
Yeah. So keep an eye. If you're a Mixon owner, obviously you keep an eye. But if you're a Samaji owner, you keep an eye on Mixon's report coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Definitely.
Well,
we can't do a podcast covering the Bengals without discussing Hayden Hurst.
The main man.
Look at that fantastic beard.
He looks like a bit of a Bengal, doesn't he?
Yeah, lovely. He sticks out of his helmet nice as well. It's like here, there, and everywhere.
Bushy enough.
Fantastic. Yeah, bastard.
I think it was week 1 you were trying to replicate it with Anth, weren't you?
Well, I'll show you if you want.
No, I'm saying week 1 of the podcast, or one of the first weeks I was on, you'd let it go for at least a week or 2, and it still wasn't really cutting the mustard, was it?
There you go.
I mean,
that's not going to do.
That's not really in the same league, is it?
That's not going to do all of that.
It's like Manchester. It's like Manchester City playing Stockport. That, you know what I mean? It's not a fair contest.
Look at that, it's fantastic. Anyway, can you play him?
Well, if he's big, it sticks out his helmet. Of course, you can play him.
Not sure.
No, he's in that tricky spot, isn't he, of tight ends where
no, like the role he's got's a great role. Just the problem is the Chiefs have been really good recently against tight ends. In actual fact, they've been the best in the league against tight ends, but I don't know whether that's just because they haven't come up against any real tight ends. So they played the Titans, who kind of have a tight end by rotation. The Jags, obviously, I spoke about Evan Ingram and his back injury, and he's been below par since he cropped up on the injury report with that. Chargers, that was without Gerald Everett, and then obviously last week they played against the Rams, where Higbee didn't have a target. But we're playing with a third-string quarterback who likes to run more than he passes. So, yeah, they have been the best in the league over the last month, but I think there's mitigating circumstances due to the fact that they haven't really played anyone. So I have a choice, that 14-team league I spoke about. I've got a choice between Greg Dulcich and Hayden Hurst, and I'm going to start Hurst over Dulcich in that particular spot.
Okay.
So.
I mean, don't sleep on Dulcich because we've covered his hair before. So on the hair and beard stakes,
and his mustache,
it's pretty close, isn't it?
Yeah, but unfortunately, his quarterback's Russell Wilson. Of all the fucking hair and mustache in the world.
Yeah. Okay. You can play Hayden Hurst. Just play him. I fucking would. I wish I.
He's a gamble. He's a gamble. If you want to gamble, he's a gamble with a tight end.
He can catch. He can catch that lad. I know.
Yeah. No,
it's just good. He's like he's got a good role. He's got a good role on a good team, in a position where it's just an absolute shit show, isn't it? So
yeah. And onto the wide receivers. I tell you what, these Bengals have found themselves a good wide receiver core, haven't they? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Chase, Higgins, and Boyd.
Well, Chase and Higgins are that good that they've made Boyd irrelevant, really, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know, and we know Tyler Boyd's a good player because of what he's produced previously. We know he's not a bad player. Yeah. You know, he'd be a very good wide receiver too on a lot of teams in the league. Yeah. But it's just the two of them are that bloody good that they've kind of made him irrelevant.
Yeah.
Still limited at practice, Chase. I'm just not confident he's going to be absolutely full throttle for this game.
Yeah, I think he was limited again today.
But if you are a Chase owner, all you want to do is you want to see him get him back there ready for the playoffs, don't you? And again, what's the schedule? Let me look at what schedule's like there, Anth, for the Bengals coming in, because if they do lose this game to the Chiefs, they're ending up at 7-5, which is, you know, they probably think they're a better talented team than a 7-5 team, and then they're having a bit of a push to get in the playoffs, aren't they?
Yeah, so they've got Cleveland, which is a divisional game,
and at home a win. Then Tampa, New England, and Buffalo. I mean, it's not an absolute gimme that they'll go and win all them games and get in the playoffs, is it? If they lose this game to the Chiefs, so they are going to have to, you know, get the guns firing. Yeah, which is great. It's great if you've got these Higgins and Chase, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so long as Chase is active, if you got him on your roster, then you play him.
Yeah.
In the FFOP league, I noticed that Anth's already put him in our starting lineup.
Has he not consulted you on that one? Has he not? There's no board meeting.
Might have been vice versa.
Yeah. If Chase doesn't play, can you fire Boyd up?
It's queer, right? Because Boyd's numbers are actually better with Chase in the lineup than they are without.
Right. Okay.
I presume that's just because
the cornerbacks. Sorry.
Cornerbacks, yeah.
Coverage of where he plays, and
yeah. I presume that's the reason why.
53 points this game on the over-unders.
Yeah, it's in. Where is it? It's in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Let's just check the old weather.
Weather. Someone say weather.
Did somebody say weather? Anth walk up.
Let's get your pointer out. I might get a green screen behind us.
What, have a map of the US going?
Yeah, map of the US, yeah.
Try and work out where Wyoming is or something.
Tornado watch.
Here we go. Poor Bronco.
Fantastic, this whiskey,
Ohio. What
Do you like
time's
whiskey,
kick off
Barry?
with this game?
Do I like whiskey? Not for me, mate. No.
No.
Something I can't get away with. What are you?
What time's kick off, Anth? Scroll up.
Oh, sorry.
It's 9:25 at UK time, so
4:25.
4:25 Eastern. Okay, so yeah, there's no weather concerns. So yeah, it's
Shoot
good
out.
conditions for putting up lots of points.
a good one to watch as well. I think this is the Sky game this
Fingers
week,
crossed.
isn't it? That's 9 Sky game.
Bloody better be.
Be well sozzled after the football. Happy
I
days.
tell you what, can't be fucking worse than last week. Bloody hell. What a crap week last week was. Anyway.
We'll come to the end. This is a good week.
It was
This is a
all right.
good week of games, this.
In Brazil, the choice was Chiefs Rams or Chargers Cardinals. So I turned the Rams off and I put the Chargers Cardinals on. I didn't want to watch.
Obviously, being a Rams fan, you avoided it.
I knew what
this-
was coming. I'd already seen that story play out, Barry.
Did you see the Peterson video, Baz, of Peterson slagging Murray off?
I did, yes, yeah. You like to, again, as an outsider, you like to see players let the guard down and just say what they feel. Don't hide away. Don't give the media sort of coach spiel. Say what you think. And when people do say these, it's a pretty outrageous thing because nobody knows if it's true or not. But he's confident what he's saying. It's a good insight to both sides of the coin, I think. Because Murray's had to go back, hasn't he? He's had to go back on Twitter, hasn't he? Say what you're talking about. Which again, his comeback wasn't really. It didn't really have a lot of substance to me.
He's not the first. Yeah, Peterson's not the first person to indicate that something with Kyler Murray's that's not conducive to a good teammate.
Yeah, quarterbacks in general get all that hype, don't they?
Well,
yeah,
especially Murray, where he could have been a number one draft pick in the NFL and a number one draft pick in the MLB, whatever it is.
MLB, Major League Baseball, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be full of yourself, aren't you, I guess?
I think
from a very early age.
Quarterbacks get all that hype, don't they? I think it goes to the head with some of them. And I think, again, the defensive players, those players in the more locker room teammates, the team has to win before I have to win, sort of thing. Whereas I think quarterbacks are the opposite. And this guy just from the outside, Murray does seem quite self-centered. And
the only thing is, I think Murray had a point when he said that obviously Peterson's a senior player. He's been around for years. Maybe he could have had pulled him to one side and had a word. Do you know what I mean? And Peterson's got a podcast to promote, and he knows it wasn't. Yeah, but he knows he's going to get views and retweets and whatever else.
we'll get him on the show next week, possibly.
Quiz him.
We'll confirm that booking later in the week.
On to the Chiefs. This backfield's an absolute nightmare, isn't it?
It's just again talking purely fantasy. When you come to draft at the start of the season, there's certain backfields where you think, I do not want to get involved because this is going to end up in a mess. And this is one of them for me where I didn't like CEH at the start of the season. Pacheco's getting a bit of hype. It's just they're a team that don't really want to run it or aren't capable of running it. It was always going to end up this way. So if you've got yourself involved, you've only got yourself to blame, in my opinion. So there's certain teams you want to just don't get involved in. Let other people draft these players.
When at the start of the season, I had the same feelings, and I've got CEH on one of my dynasty teams, and the first 4 games, I'm thinking, oh, thank fuck, they've actually been able to sort him or whatever.
Sort him out. They've got a scheme for him. He fits in. He's going to.
And then from week 5, I don't know what happened.
You know what happened, Anth? You can see the touchdowns dried up.
Yeah,
the touchdowns dried up. Nothing else changes. The touchdowns dried up, and then they realize, he's actually not that good. We'll cut his snaps back, and that's that. That's all she wrote.
Pacheco's had the pre-season chat and the mid-season chat that he's going to be the lead back. He's only going to be the lead back in a non-run heavy timeshare scenario, but his numbers are trending upwards. So if you took that punt on him somewhere through the season, you're starting to hope and get involved. At least you've not spent a lot of draft capital on him, and he is a stash that you had earlier on. He might come to fruition. He might help you out if you're injuries or you need a flex or whatever else.
Yeah.
Are we confident in him going forward to be any good though, Blandy? What's your thoughts on him?
No, he's touchdown or bust for me.
But he's a rookie in a year's time. Are we sitting here saying this guy could be a decent back or not?
No, he's a 7th round. He's a 7th round pick with not really much of a college production profile. The only thing he had going for him, he ran the fastest 40 time at the combine of all running backs.
Right.
Literally the only thing he's got going for him.
They do like a bit of speed, don't they, in KC?
Yeah.
So obviously CEH is out. McKinnon's questionable. Rojo has been.
Rojo.
I mean, look at the attitude he's got.
I mean, surely nobody's got him on the roster, have they, Rojo? Come on.
No, well, they signed Melvin Gordon, didn't they, as well, to the practice squad.
Right.
He's probably better than most of these guys.
I think we'll see how it works out with McKinnon and his injury, but they don't trust Pacheco in the passing game. Rojo, as much as I love him as a rusher, he's got hands of stone, so he definitely can't be trusted in the passing game.
Not a good combination.
Not ideal. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gordon actually carves out a little role for himself.
I mean, in the Chief games,
in the passing game, if McKinnon stays injured.
I think in the Chiefs games I've seen, McKinnon looks like he's got a bit of a burst. I don't know if it's because the other running backs are so poor, but sometimes when he comes on in the second or third quarter, he breaks the tackle and he has that little 5 or 10 yard spurt. You think, oh, they might get something out of him, and I think, but then he's just got no volume. He's got no fantasy runs, but he looks quite good on the eye for a burst or two in a game.
Yeah, I mean, he broke the combine, didn't he, when he was drafted?
Right.
He's an absolute gym rat, workout warrior. So that's why he's so explosive. But yeah, like you say, his durability issues, certainly in the rushing game.
He's not getting any touches. He's not getting, what's his roster percentage? 50% roster.
Plays loads of snaps. Plays quite a few snaps.
Is he good on the pass protection?
And runs a lot of routes. That's where he gets the main bulk of his fantasy points from.
Okay, that's enough time spent on this backfield that none of us can play.
Don't pick any of them. Don't draft them. Don't play them. Don't sign them. Don't trade them.
Got a question in the chat, Anth.
Oh, it's a good one. Hey, Trey. Evening, gents. Full PPR. Yuan Johnson or Knox? I'm already starting Diggs and Bass. Add Knox, and that feels like relying on a lot. One team during a Thursday night game. Thanks and good luck this week.
Well, Juwan Johnson didn't practice today. He missed practice. Also, his role the last few weeks has been reduced with Adam Troutman coming back, and then also with Taysom Hill playing more snaps as a tight end. So the Saints have been running a 3-man committee at a tight end, pretty much similar to the Titans and what the Colts do. And nobody wants to start a Titans or a Colts tight end.
He's obviously, look at his numbers there. He's had a good spell week 7 to 11, hasn't he? He's had a good little run.
Because he scored 5 touchdowns in that spell.
Right.
That's why.
It's just the fact that he's been the one who's got the touchdown, not because he's established himself or anything. So we're pretty much saying, even though we did a piece on Knox earlier, Trey, we're pretty much saying Juwan Johnson hasn't got a lot of we can pin our hat on. So we'll probably have to go Knox.
Yeah, well, you can see his playtime declining there. 73, 74, 75 snap share, then 66, 63 last week, 47, and now he's injured.
I was going to say the Troutman thing's big, isn't he? Because he's again someone that's quite fancied, isn't he? I know he was a while ago. He's not really done much, but they probably still think he's capable.
Yeah, he's one of them where he plays just enough to be an annoyance to Juwan Johnson.
So I think we're saying Knox for him, Trey. And I think we've got another one there, haven't you?
Knox is the winner.
Out of two, out of Etienne, Wilson, White, or Lenny. Whew. I mean, obviously the White or Lenny, I think, depends on fitness. And is Lenny is he not playing this week and White's a play?
No, he practiced in full today, Lenny.
Right. So does that mean it ends up in some form of a split? Because White had been getting more time, hadn't he, recently?
Well, he was a starter in Germany, wasn't he? When Fournette was fit,
right?
It was White who started the game. He got the start that game, and then obviously ran very, very well last week. Played very well last week as well.
So again, I think all of those names he's put forward have got some sort of injury concern of some description. I think we've touched on Jeff Wilson in the early chat. So he's going to be the lead of the backs, but again, it's going to be hard to run on the 49ers, but he'll get some passing work. ETN, a fit ETN is probably not a decision you're going to play him, but
yeah, exactly. I think if Etienne is active, which it certainly sounds like, I think you play him. I think you lock him in definitely.
So it's Etienne,
it's just a case of
one of the other three. And who, are we leaning Wilson or do you like Rashad White?
Yeah. Probably Rashad White, I think.
Okay, so we're going to go for
even with Lenny coming back.
We're going to go for Etienne and White for you, Trey.
Etienne and White.
Subscribe and let us know how you get on.
Yeah.
Hit the like button for us. That'd be great. Do we have another question there from a name? I don't know if it's a proper name or not. A load of letters.
Thanks a lot, Trey. Like, share, subscribe, please, mate. Do I trade Higgins for Andrews? I think that was a good effort, wasn't it? Do I trade Higgins for Andrews? My other wide receivers are Olave, Evans, Keenan, and McLaurin. This is a 2-flex league.
Who's your tight end?
Other tight ends are ever garbage.
Yeah, get rid of him. Conklin's another funny one who's been very up and down, hasn't he?
He's been up with any QB not named Zach Wilson. He's been down with any QB named Zach Wilson.
I can see why you want to get Andrews but I think we like Higgins, don't we?
Yeah. I'd be quite happy. I think
he's got enough. He's got enough in that wide receiver role, hasn't he? If he's got Olave, Evans, Keenan Allen, and McLaurin, there's some good receivers there.
Never have enough good wide receivers, Barry. Never have enough good wide receivers.
Yeah, it depends on how many. 2 flex leagues, that when you can squeeze 4 in, can you?
I would imagine so, yeah.
So the answer to the question is no.
No.
Personally, I wouldn't, no.
Just because we like Higgins so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andrews this year hasn't really separated himself from the pack.
No, he's in a bad spell, hasn't he?
Certainly not as much as what he did last year. And like Anth mentioned, he is dinged up. And I know Chase is coming back, but that's only a positive for T. Higgins. Yeah. T. Higgins gets the secondary. He's been very good with the primary cornerback. Now he's going to get the secondary cornerback.
Yeah.
I think
we're going to say no. Left rigger.
I think I'd be happy to keep Higgins and roll the Conklin, especially with especially with Mike White under centre.
What you saying, Anth?
I'd say no.
No. So survey says. Thanks for the question, though. Appreciate it.
Keep the questions coming, by the way.
Right then, let's wrap this up because I need to go to bed.
I've just told them to
You
keep the
can answer
questions
the
going.
questions. I need to go to
I've
bed.
got a full bottle of whiskey, yeah.
You crack on. I feel like I've drank a full bottle of whiskey.
We'll just quickly finish on these wide receivers. Kelsey, we don't need to talk about. He's an absolute lock. Whoever said he's finished is finished themselves. Kadarius Toney, again, we like the look of him.
Practice again. He's not going to play.
Not going to play.
Has he got 3 bad hamstrings?
He won't play. He hasn't practiced again. Yeah, he's back to his 3 bad hamstrings.
Go on.
Valdez Scantling, is he fit? He had a good game, didn't he? Last, I've got a juju there. Valdez. It's tricky with these guys, isn't it? It's tricky with some of these guys. I think Juju had started to get himself going, and then got that bad concussion. You'd fancy him to come back from it, but whether it's this week or not, who knows? MVS again.
Yeah, I think they eased him in last week.
Yeah, it's understandable, isn't it? It was a bad hit he took, didn't he?
Yeah, well, and they didn't need to do anything because we're playing the Rams. But yeah, Valdez Scantling, although they were down wide receivers last week, only played 58% of the snaps. Now, was that because they were playing the Rams and they didn't really have to do much, or just because he hasn't been great that they're kind of phasing him out? I don't know.
These are the guys you sort of put in your sort of wide receiver 3-4 position, aren't they? These MVS and Juju potentially. You know, you would be want to pick your hat off as your 1 or 2s.
As we've gone through this, the Chiefs seem pretty banged up, don't they?
It's strange when you look at the Chiefs and they're 9-2, and they're probably not the best Chiefs roster you've ever seen, and like I say, and carrying a few injuries and knocks, but the favourites away from home against the team that beat them last year.
Yeah.
And the overs, what the overs 50, 52 or something, was it?
53, 52 and a half, something around that ballpark, yeah. 50,
okay.
53.
Question, the last one from Trey. Tua or Dak?
I would normally say Tua, but I like the matchup Dak's got with the Colts. Something obviously heavy favourites at home, aren't they? And Tua's going into San Fran, where he's going to get a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Agree, Blandy?
I agree. I think
for that reason, I might say Dak.
I think Dak's.
Dak.
Yeah, I think Dak's playing
on this week.
All of his career.
This week, I'll pick Dak. I think I like Tua better overall.
Dak's a winner, Trey.
Dak for me.
So that's the game's done. Let me go back to that screen, actually. That's better. Quick cover on the Fantasy Front Office League.
Well, it's hotting up, isn't it?
Mm.
I'm playing you this week.
Oh, hello, Barry.
And I'm on a little bit of a precarious position at 7-5 with a host of other teams on 7-5 and a host of teams on 6-6. If I go down this week, I'm probably dropping out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
and everybody in the hunt. You know, I think we've cast 2 off the bottom, haven't we? We've said Guyette and Hanley have probably gone at 2-10, 3-9. Yeah. Team T.Y. Wake, we did say he needs a better name, but he's not listening. But he's 5-7, and he needs to probably win a couple of games on the spin to get himself back in the mix. And he's got a tricky matchup against Callum this week. So I think if he wins, he's back in the mix. If he loses, he's probably done. And then everybody else is going to take it to the wire, aren't they?
Yeah. AJ has found a nice little streak of form right at the right time, up to second in the league. He's been a bit up and down this year, but he seems to have hit a bit of form at the right time now. And can he keep it going? So the two bottoms, the Hanley and the guy play each other. Obviously, we play you, Baz.
Yeah, I think yours will probably start favourites, won't you?
Yep.
I say I need Etienne to play. I've got to check all. You guys have got a few. Oh no, I've got a different match there. I'm looking at week 14. I wonder. Yeah, 1-4, 1-1, 2-1 I predicted. Saquon Barkley, are we? Is he struggling a little bit for fitness, Blandy? Not in terms of injury, just the fact that he is the offense of the Giants and they're working him hard, and his numbers are tailed off a little bit the last few weeks.
Yeah, he's the injuries to the offensive line haven't helped him, but I think I saw yesterday Evan Neal practiced in full, so him coming back will be a big help to that. I don't know about John Feliciano, the centre. I'll see if I can look up now what his state is, but teams know that it's going to go through Barkley. So if you got Barkley like we have, you kind of just hoping that
you're tied into it, of course.
Breaks one of his big runs.
Yeah, just about last week, and it's because it's his birthday as well. Ryan beat us last week.
I didn't even know that. Well done, Ryan.
Yeah. He's
good lad.
Well done, Ryan. Yeah, brilliant.
Yay,
that's that covered. Week 14. So week 14 could be an interesting one, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's all to play for this week.
I tell you what, the way it's worked out here, no one in question's really got like an easy. You're all playing each other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the bottom two teams are playing each other, then everybody else has got that tricky matchup, haven't they?
Interesting. All to play for. Oh shit! I didn't put that down there. On to the most important thing of the week, and let's see if we can get it done pretty quick, so Blandy can go to bed.
Thank you very much.
Bankers of the week.
Yeah, so I'll start. I like the over 51.5 in the Lions and Jags again. That's where I'm going to go. The reasons we spoke about earlier on. Bad running, two good run defenses, but then bad D lines, good O lines should set up lots of passing ability.
Lions.
And then in a dome, I like the over. I think could go well over, in fact.
Baz.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky week this week because there's some standout games. I haven't got an absolute knocking bet. I'm just kind of looking through it now. I probably like the Packers to beat the Bears at the Bears 4.5 on the handicap. Probably think
Justin Fields practiced in full and is likely going to play.
Oh, that's why that drops. That's why that drops come down, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not. I think generally I like the Titans getting 5 points in Philly. I think that's a spot, but again, that's a tough game. Two good watch game, two good teams.
It's a typical Mike Vrabel spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
As an underdog,
they might lose, but they might lose by a field goal. But I think on the spread, I think they're a good enough bet. Again, the Steelers Falcons 42 points that's got even with Steelers quarterback play, that's got a chance of going over that. Because I don't think either team are particularly great. Sometimes you get two bad teams, it goes over.
Go on, Barry, plant your flag. I want to go to bed.
I'll go for those two. I'll go for the Packers and the over in the Steelers Falcons.
Very good.
And I am going with the Dolphins.
Yeah, you like the Dolphins?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you like that one, yeah.
Dolphins +4. I think the Niners haven't really played anyone this year, and the Dolphins are going to be probably the second or third decent team they've played, and they've got beat by one of the other ones. So I'm going Dolphins +4. Okay. Next week we'll be back on the Thursday night, hopefully, and then a very special live show to be confirmed next week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Blandy. Thanks for your questions.
Peace out. Enjoy the football.
Thanks, everyone.
Peace
See you
out.
next week.
Catch you later.